Hello and welcome to episode 7 of the I Know About It Sports podcast. I am Noah Arnold. It was a very busy last couple of days around the sports world, and for me especially. If I sound very tired, it's because I am. It's been a rough couple of days. But yeah, so huge weekend. I went to, on Friday night, this past Friday, I went to SmackDown in Columbia. On Saturday night, I called a classic overtime game between Allen and Benedict. And then when I was trying to go back and listen to it, something in the either with my SD card or something with what we think was maybe one of the wires was loose, or the plugs, we didn't plug it in all the way, and it was loose. So that caused the game to be really choppy. So the aim sounded like that. It sounded just like that the whole time. So I tried to fix it that Sunday night, and I didn't end up going to sleep until like 3 to 4 a.m. So I only got like 2 hours of sleep, and that has really affected me for last 2 days. But I managed to get that last night. On 2 hours of sleep, and after a full day of school, I did a full 3-hour re-record by myself in my bedroom of the Allen Benedict game. Absolute classic. It also really makes me hate games that are called remotely. Really makes me appreciate games that are called. I was already an anti-remote calling game, but yeah, you gotta be there in person. Other things that happened, we crowned a brand new WNBA champion. We found out who's going to the World Series. We found out who's going to the World Series. Samantha Irvin left WWE. That was big news. Deshaun Watson has officially become the worst contract in sports history, and probably worst front office decision in sports history. We have another week of college football. I'm not sure if I'm going to talk about college football at all on this show. And if I do, I didn't write much down, but because this episode is going to be mainly dedicated to the NBA. The season starts here in a few hours. It's about 3:35 and I'm recording this. So in about 4 hours, under 4 hours, we will have a brand new NBA season. Very exciting. Just great to see. Absolutely. You hope for off season. You have the off season the whole time, and then now we finally have a new season. But yeah, to kick off, I'm just going to talk about what's been going on here in my life. Of course, SmackDown on Friday. It was an okay show. Date, by the way, was October the 18th. It was an okay show. You could see me in the background a couple times throughout the night because I had my big orange Clemson jersey, Christian Wilkins jersey, and so you see me a couple times throughout the night. It got hyped up a lot, this show. It didn't really live up to those expectations. They seemingly pushed back the Andrade Carmelo Hayes Match 7, Game 7 to next week's episode, which will be in Brooklyn. So they want to save the big stuff for Brooklyn. It wasn't a bad show. The blood storyline continued. It's an honor to acknowledge my tribal chief in person. The main thing I was very impressed with was the first time I've ever seen Lash Legend wrestle live, and she was fantastic. She has a lot of power. She's come a long way from those early 2.0 days where she was really struggling. And I kept the faith at that time, and I saw that she had a ton of potential. She was just put on television in a wrestling capacity way too early when she was, a couple years ago when they were just trying to force whoever they could on TV when they were, making NXT a developmental brand again. So it's good to see her do that. The Machine Guns debuted. They announced it before the show. So as I was in line, me and my brother were in line to go to the show. They posted on Twitter that, yep, Machine Guns are here. So there was no surprise pop, no nothing. They just straight up announced, yep, they're here. They put on a good performance, as expected. And we were a bit nervous that the crowd wouldn't know who they were, which they didn't know who they were for the most part, but the vocal minority of us who did know who the Motor City Machine Guns were from their time in TNA and around the wrestling world managed to get them, along with the Machine Gun's performance, managed to get them at a good level to where the crowd really enjoyed and respected them and started getting chants and cheers late in the match. A lot of Motor City chants throughout. So that was great to see. I love Chris Sabin. I love Alex Shelley. So yeah, it was great night. And I didn't write this down, but yeah, right like before Raw went on last night, Samantha Irvin, who was in the running for maybe one of the greatest wrestling ring announcers of all time in just her short time doing this. Easily the best in the game. Easily the best there's been since probably Howard Finkel way back in the day. Easily by far the best wrestling ring announcer of my lifetime. October the 21st. Want to get the clarification on the date. She just announced that she's departing WWE. All accounts, this wasn't a release. This was on her. She just didn't want to be there anymore. Very weird, considering she seemingly had a ton of passion and whatnot. She's grown up a wrestling fan her whole life, and she seemingly enjoyed it a lot. So it's really weird that, and you got to figure her husband Ricochet, known as Ricochet in wrestling, is moved on to AEW. So you figure maybe she just wanted to continue to work with her husband that she worked with and met while in WWE. You figure that's maybe what she wants to do. But, all the best to her, I guess. And pretty much out the blue, they brought back I don't want to say old face. That's wrong to say. But they brought back a familiar face from days past. A voice of my childhood and a lot of other people's childhood as well. Lillian Garcia, the University of South Carolina alum, is back ring announcing for the first time in 10 years, I think. Something like that. And at least going forward, it seems like she may be the temporary voice of Monday Night Raw as a ring announcer. That is so crazy. In 2024 now, Lillian Garcia is going to be the ring announcer on Monday Night Raw. I'm guessing she just got tired of whatever she was doing. I don't know. I think she lives in the Greenville area. I think she still lives in South Carolina. I don't know. But yeah, whenever they went to Greenville a couple months ago, she was on the show just highlighting whatever. Was actually putting over Samantha Irvin as kind of like a passing the torch moment. Turns out it was a I'm getting the torch back moment, I guess. Wow, that's crazy. So I'm moving on to Saturday night, and I had to call this game twice. Second time will be uploaded here on my YouTube. I'll probably upload the full game, the final maybe 5 minutes, and then the little clip of overtime. I think I'll probably do that. So maybe 3 uploads of one game. Listen, guys, I'm trying to be a sports broadcaster. I have to get as many clips as possible. I have to stretch it out as possible. So sorry to be bombarding y'all. But yeah, it was a very chilly night in Blythewood, just 10 minutes from where I live. So this was a perfect game to call. It's a tremendous rivalry in this area. If you don't know, Allen and Benedict, 2 HBCUs, quite literally right next to each other. If you were to stand in the window of one of the buildings of a university, you could spit out that window and probably hit the other building. They are that close together. But the thing is, Allen has not beaten Benedict since 1964. This is only they discontinued the rivalry in 66, and then they brought it back in 2021 when Allen reestablished a football team. And since then, Benedict has just simply put, they've whooped their ass the last 3 years. 45-12 in 2021, and then following year in Allen's home stadium, 54-20. And then the following year, last year, a hyped up game, 37-9. So it was an absolute slaughter the last couple years. But 2 new teams, 2 new coaching staffs, and it was a back and forth contest throughout the night. Going to some of the play-by-plays, Benedict scored a late fourth quarter touchdown to tie the game at 27. Nanders Lawrence, the electrifying kick returner for Allen, who leads D2 in kickoff return touchdowns, at least going into the game, broke off another big kick return. He had a tremendous night, 2 touchdowns, 1 on the ground, 1 through the air, including a 76-yard touchdown on only the second or third drive of the game. He was electric when he got the ball in his hands. He set up Allen in plus territory. Then a few plays later, with about 40-something seconds left, Desmooks, quarterback for Allen, escaped a bunch of pressure. There was a lot of pressure on both sides of the ball. These quarterbacks did a fantastic job at avoiding sacks throughout the entire night. But he escaped, tried to force a pass on the sideline, near side, like right in front of us, or not in front of us, we were a couple rows up, but right in front of us on the side. Interception thrown by Trey Carver, who made the pick for Benedict. A true freshman made his first career interception, and he ripped the ball away from Caleb Cummings, who was a Benedict transfer for Allen. So the guy who So basically, this true freshman is playing against a guy in Caleb Cummings, who was the star receiver last year for his team, transferred to the rival university, literally across the street, and then Cummings had a touchdown earlier in the game against his former team. And then so this true freshman comes in, he's been getting beat up all night, rips the pass away for an interception against the guy who left the university. I mean, that's a storybook. That's a movie moment. Just a tremendous. The game goes to OT. Benedict got the ball to start overtime. Shatarius Williams for Benedict made an incredible over-the-shoulder touchdown grab on a beautiful rainbow throw from Trey Simmons. That was Williams' second touchdown catch on the night. And by the way, Williams is on his 4th collegiate program, by the way. He started his career at Alabama 4 years ago. Now he's bounced all over the place and now is in Columbia, South Carolina, playing for the Benedict Tigers. Then Allen got the ball. They drove inside the 5. It was a 3rd and 1 from the 2-yard line, so they could have got a first down inside the 1. Demetrius Patterson for Benedict laid the freaking boom. He speared. I was talking about WWE earlier. I was talking about how much I loved Roman Reigns. Roman Reigns would have been proud of the spear Demetrius Patterson laid on the Allen running back Fabian Duncan. He freaking just, I mean, you could hear the pads popping. The pad just went, it was a smack. And it was all the way on the other side, and you can hear it. It was loud. And I wish, God, that makes me upset that I had to recall this game, because I'm pretty sure on our mics, you could probably even hear how loud it was, even though it was on the other side. It smack. It made a 4th and 5. Desmooks did all he could, escaped a ton of pressure, threw a great pass to the back of the end zone, very high. But Cummings, the former Bennett Tiger, and I just realized this guy's name is Cummings. But yeah, he couldn't get his feet down, and Benedict survived 34-27 in overtime. And now a 60-year drought will continue for Allen. A heartbreaker. They finally made this game close in overtime in their home stadium, and they just couldn't deliver. Heartbreaker for Allen University. Let's see. You know what? Before I talk about the NBA, let me go through the college football. I don't have anything written down. I'm just gonna straight up look this up, see if anything I want to talk about. I think I'll do predictions early, just simply because we have a big Thursday night game in college football that I want to predict before the game starts. So yeah, let me look back real quick. It was not as big of a weekend as there has been in college football recently, but we saw a top 5 matchup. Texas got beat up by Georgia. Georgia's not even, Carson Beck did terrible, but the defense for the Dogs just shut down the Longhorn offense, which I did not expect to happen. I could probably say a lot about this game, but great performance by the Dog defense, because, as I said, Georgia's offense really, they dropped 30, but they really didn't look that great. This game had some controversial referee moments as well. And, it was a hard-fought, hard-nosed game, but, Texas just got smacked in the mouth at home. Tennessee, I predicted Tennessee to win a game exactly like this. And I even would have went out on limb to say 24-17 was a score I predicted. I picked this game right down to the very end. This game went exactly as I thought it would. And Tennessee beat Alabama 24-17 in a hard-fought defensive slugger. And Tennessee now has been shut out in the first half for 3 consecutive games. That is wild to think about. I don't know if Arkansas just didn't do as good as I thought they were going to do. I didn't pick them to win against LSU, but I didn't think LSU was going to blow out and just dominate Arkansas. That was crazy. I think this says a lot more about LSU and where they are. I did not have them doing that good this season, but they have blown away all expectations so far this season. Iowa State remained undefeated, took down UCF in a comeback win. Another heartbreaker for Gus Malzahn and UCF. I don't know how much longer Gus Malzahn is going to have at UCF. I digress. For my beloved Clemson Tigers, just barely simple. This game felt like the Clemson of old. Had a slow first half, just trying to feel it out. And then third quarter, turn it on. And in fourth quarter, if Dabo likes the other coach, here, let the gas off a little bit. And the other team usually gets like 1 or 2 garbage time touchdowns, which that's exactly what happened. That's how Clemson operated for during our heyday, if you will, and that's what we did this game. So yeah, maybe Clemson seems like we're back. Maybe, I don't know. I picked Nebraska to beat Indiana, and Indiana won this game by 49 points, by damn near 50. Might as well make it 50 points. This game was never in doubt. This game was never close. Indiana looks like a legit team, a legit playoff contender. And yeah, just simply put, Nebraska was not ready. I don't even want to say for the big lights. This game started at noon, but they were not ready for this big moment on the road against the 16th ranked team in the country. Indiana, they have something. Kirk Cignetti has something with this Hoosier team. It's going down. Auburn was up big on the road against Missouri. They sent the Missouri quarterback Brady Cook to the hospital. He went to the hospital, got an MRI, came back to the stadium, put the pads back on, and then led his team from down 10 to beat Auburn. That's embarrassing if you're the Tigers. I did not like the Hugh Freeze hire at all when it happened, and it looks even worse now. Just a mess at Auburn University. And Mizzou is not a good football team. They may be 6-1. They are not a good football team. They've been a huge disappointment this season. Illinois, I picked them to beat Michigan. They did. 21-7. It's about what I expected. Jack Tuttle started this game for the Wolverines. He was not good, as expected. Something. Okay. I picked Carolina to beat Oklahoma. I did not pick Carolina to freaking curb stomp Oklahoma. This game was not close from the get-go. Holy cow. Holy smokes. This was a schlubbing. This was 21. It was 21-0 5 minutes in the game. The game was over 5 minutes in. Oklahoma had, sending Hawkins out there was a terrible decision. Just a all-around. They fired their offensive coordinator after this game. Oklahoma seemingly, many people in Soonerland, many people in the country figured Oklahoma might become the new version of Nebraska, where they go to this bigger conference from the Big 12 and then just suck. Just are terrible. I don't know if it's just Oklahoma has a down year or if that's just what Oklahoma is right now. If they just suck. I think it's a little bit of both. Carolina has a bye week coming in this week. Clemson and Carolina have bye weeks before Carolina has to play Texas A&M. It was already been decided as a night game. They hadn't decided the exact time or whatever, but it will be a night game between Texas A&M. That will be a tremendous contest on November the 2nd. Clemson, that game is November the 2nd as well. They play Louisville. That should be a big game for the Tigers. Louisville, by the way, 52-45. Referees definitely helped Miami out. Simple as that. Ward played okay, pretty good, but yeah, Miami wins again. referees definitely played a role. Just the way it goes. USC, they blew up a conference. University of Southern California blew up the Pac-12 so they can join the Big Ten. And so that way they could play cross-country games at the likes of Maryland. They could go up 21-7.5 and then lose to Maryland. And Maryland, they're Maryland. They're just middle to low tier. And that goes for pretty much everything they do. They blew up the conference for this. And Lincoln Riley's going to get fired or leave. Embarrassing. Completely and utterly embarrassing. Yeah, that's all I'm going to do for college football this week. I'll get a little bit more deep into maybe tomorrow, this past week, just because I want to hit some other topics. Now I'm already 21 minutes into the episode. Yeah, so WNBA, the Liberty are champions of the W for the first time ever. 3-2 and overtime in a Game 5. Fantastic game. Fantastic season for Liberty. They made sure to make this the redemption year in the year they finally break through, and they did. Lynx were not supposed to be here. The fact they got this close was great. Hopefully they can build up momentum on the next season. I picked Sabrina Ionescu to win Finals MVP, and she did not, to say the least. She was not. She's going to go down in infamy for becoming a meme, for winning a championship that she actively probably harmed as well. She finished Game 5, the must-win game, with 5 points, 1 of 19 shooting, and 1 of 10 from 3. Just a really bad, horribly bad game for Sabrina. But Brianna Stewart, 13 and 15, great game for her. She might be, I think Asia Wilson's still the best player in the league. Brianna Stewart might be second. I did not think on this podcast I'll be talking about the WNBA as much as I have, and it's kind of been a staple for those couple episodes. So, yeah, it's crazy. WNBA, this is the best season they've ever had last couple years. It has fully established themselves as an actual league, an actual watchable league. Let the people who want to make more politics out of WNBA, rooting for one person than the other, between certain players. But, hey, it's a great season, a lot of great basketball. This was a great series between these two proud teams, proud organizations. And hopefully it continues next year. It should be another great year as well. Now speaking of basketball. Yeah, as I said, I'm about 20 minutes in now. In about 3.5 hours, the NBA season tips off. Celtics, the reigning champions, take on the New York Knicks. And I forget who the second game is. I'm not bothering to look. But, yeah, incredible time in sports now that every sport is in high gear as well. Oh, yeah, I forgot to talk about the World Series. Dodgers and Yankees. Put it lightly, I hope a meteor. That's what I hope for. And that's my final prediction and want is a meteor. So, yeah. But, yeah, so NBA, this is what I love to see. For my entire childhood, it was just Cavs and Warriors. Now, as a LeBron fan, a guy who liked LeBron's favorite player, it was fun seeing LeBron in every year, even though he beat the Hawks' ass every year. But this is what I wanted. Multiple teams have a shot to win a title or at least make it to a finals. So, yeah, I'm going to see how all these teams stack up. You're going to hear my opinion on every single team heading into the season. And as I said, there is about 10, maybe 12 teams that can compete for the title this year, legitimately. It's going to be a very competitive year. Start in alphabetical order. First off, happens to be my favorite team, the Atlanta Hawks. New era for the Hawks. My beloved or hated Hawks. Number 1 pick, Zachary Rice-Shar, I think is a decent pickup in the draft. I think he's going to be a solid He won't. He'll play beside like third option, maybe second if he pans out for Trae Young. He screams better version of DeAndre Hunter, and Hunter's a good player. But yeah, it's kind of what seems that his role is going to be is more role player, which is fine next to Trae. Jalen Johnson's been great. We got rid of DeJounte Murray because the experiment with him and Trae didn't work. We didn't get much back from DeJounte. Yeah, we gave Jalen Johnson that huge extension. So yeah. Hawks are probably just going to be the Hawks. We're probably just going to get a 7 seed and be a first round out. That seems like where we always are. Seems like where we're always going to be pretty much. So yeah. Moving on to the Boston Celtics. Last year they were the best team all year. They won the title with ease. They didn't exactly have the hardest road to the finals, but I digress. They're the clear-cut favorites this year in the East, and they also the favorites to repeat again. Yeah, this is a great roster. They brought back everybody from last year. The expectations should be back-to-back, and honestly, I think they probably will go back-to-back. So, yeah. Hey, you remember when Ime Udoka threw away his chance to coach this team and his marriage with Nia Long? It's crazy times. Brooklyn Nets, they suck. They're going to suck. They finally traded Mikal Bridges so that he can get some draft picks and continue to suck even worse. They're paying Ben Simmons $40 million to wear worse outfits than Hasanabi. They cut Killian Hayes, who is really bad, but is the really fun kind of bad. At least they're embracing a tank. They're embracing a rebuild. As good though. They're embracing somewhat, but they don't have a lot of picks. Oh, they don't have any of their own picks as well. But at least they're seemingly going in a direction. That's all you can really hope for if you're a fan of a team, is just hope your team goes in a direction. But yeah, they're going to suck. Again. They had their moment when they finally got out from the ashes 10 years ago from the KG and Paul Pierce trade. And they built a really good playoff roster, a really fun young team back in 2019. They threw it all away to sign Kevin Durant and Kyrie. Then they threw that. They kept throwing more of their assets away to get James Harden. It didn't work, and now it's coming back to completely bite the Nets again. And they're now right back to one of the worst situations in the league. Charlotte Hornets, LaMelo Ball's injury hurt them really bad last year. Caused them from being a bad team to being an ass team. Hornets, they brought on a new coaching staff. Looks to improve this team's defense, which was somehow worse than LaMelo Ball's driving last season. They're going to be a 11-10 seed maybe at best. Hey, just a reminder, they gave a 3-year, $75 million contract this offseason to a guy who pled no contest to domestic violence. Just want to let you know that. Chicago Bulls, this might be one of the worst run organizations in all of sports. They're refusing to go into a rebuild despite being a terrible team. They're continuing to try and just be the 9 seed and miss the playoffs. They lost DeRozan to the Kings this offseason. They lost Drummond, and they traded Alex Caruso, who was a really good rotation piece for the Bulls and one of the most coveted role players in the entire league. They traded him straight up for Josh Giddey. Josh Giddey, Josh Drizzy, the basketball wonder Franco. They traded a guy who most teams would throw whatever at him to get Caruso, and they got Josh. They got the diddler. Yeah, this team is terrible. At least Lonzo, they need to trade Levine and Vucevic, but hey, at least we get to see Lonzo Ball finally play basketball. That is honestly a treat. It was a rough road for Lonzo Ball to finally get back on a court, and I am so happy he can finally get back on that court. It's going to be for a terrible team. You can hope maybe hear I don't know if that's the dryer or the washer in the background. But yeah. Cleveland Cavaliers. This team went through a critical offseason. Is going through a big-time season. It seems like Donovan Mitchell may want out, may not want out, depending on how the cards fall. They got a new coaching staff. I'm a huge fan of Kenny Atkinson. I was a big fan of him when he was in Brooklyn. I thought he got the short end of the stick just because he didn't bow down. He didn't kiss the toes, suck the toes of Kevin Durant and Kyrie Irving. But I think this is a really good team on paper. They didn't really lose a lot this offseason. They in fact just only improved with getting Atkinson. You can really say the only piece they really lost was maybe like a veteran leadership in Marcus Morris and maybe Isaac Okoro. But yeah, this is going to be a solid 4-3 seed. The thing is, like last year, they can stay healthy. This could be a team that could legitimately go to the finals. It's a really, really good team and organization in Cleveland. But it depends on if Donovan Mitchell stays happy or not. And Darius Garland's had a lot of issues with defense and staying healthy. Moving on to the Dallas Mavericks, the team that won the West last season, went to the finals. And, they have Luka, they have Kyrie, and then they got in the offseason Klay Thompson, who has already become a meme because people are saying he's washed. He's probably washed. Maybe that helps get them somewhere. I'm not sure. I think, in all honesty, for Dallas, I think they take a step back this year. I think last year, I think Luka's a good player. I think Kyrie's a good player, but I don't see how this team doesn't take a step back from last season. I just don't think Klay Thompson is at the level that he once was. Obviously, I think he's washed. Remember, Klay Thompson went 0-10 in an elimination game. Moving on, Denver Nuggets. It's going to be about the same team they were last year. They don't have any depth. They lost depth. They lost Reggie Jackson. They lost KCP. And they try to replace those two with Saric and Russell Westbrook. That ain't going to work out. This team's going to continue to struggle with depth, which was a huge contribution to them winning a title a couple years ago. But obviously, there's a team that can still win a championship. They have Jokic. They have Porter. They have Aaron Gordon, and he just gave a big contract to, I think. They have Murray. It's still going to be a really good team. It's just, can they stay healthy in the playoffs? Because, you don't need a lot of depth in the playoffs as you do in the regular season. So I can see them getting like the 5 or 6 seed in the regular season, just coasting through and then turning it on when the playoffs start. Detroit Pistons. It can't be worse than last year. That's a maybe. If you don't know, they broke the record. Most consecutive losses ever. And at best, they got the 5 seed. They got the 5 seed. 14 wins, 68 losses a season ago. 28-game losing streak. Fired Monty Williams like coach of the year. They got JB Bickerstaff, who was fired from Cleveland. This team's going to be bad again, but as I said, hopefully not as bad. If you're a Pistons fan, hopefully not as bad as it was last year. You get Ron Holland, seems like a decent pick at number 5. He can maybe add a spark to this team. Tobias Harris is just a veteran leadership. I think he's gonna fit a lot better than he would have in Philly. And they also got in Tim Hardaway, good veteran staff. They have Malik Beasley as well. So they got a lot more veterans than last season, just to try and help stabilize this young core. But yeah, they're still gonna be terrible. Golden State Warriors, no more Klay Thompson. The Warriors missed the playoffs last year. They got bounced out by the Kings, a team historically the Warriors curb stomp year in, year out. They got bounced out there. They did bring back Curry. They managed to keep Draymond rather than Klay. If Draymond can stay on the court, this is a decent team when he's on the court, but the issue is he always gets suspended. There's going to be a lot of internal development with the Warriors. Brandon Poe, he's going to have to develop to try and step up to be somewhat of Klay Thompson. Obviously, that's not going to happen, but that's what they're going to need out of him. Jonathan Kuminga is going to have to take another huge step up. He does in 2K. He's whatever reason, once you get to whatever year in 2K, he becomes a beast. They're going to need that from him. I think Buddy Hield was a good offseason acquisition in case Poe's not ready. Warriors, I think they're going to be in a play-in type team again. if Steph Curry is healthy, this team's going to at least be in a postseason capacity. The team's at minimum going to get an 8 seed. There's no excuse they shouldn't be in the playoffs like they didn't get in last year. Houston Rockets, they made a very late playoff push a season ago, despite having a terrible start to the season. This is a insane young team. They have so many young players on this team that, and honestly, it's become an issue. They can't play a lot of players that, you want to develop, get on the court. They brought in Reed Shepherd, third overall pick. They traded for A.J. Griffin from the Hawks, who then A.J. Griffin has now retired at 21 years old for the game of basketball to be a missionary, I think. I'm not sure. That is a very odd decision by him to do that. But yeah, this team should be competing for the playoffs. I think Shepherd's a solid offensive guy. He's not going to be electrifying if he won't be running the show, but he can hit some couple threes off the bench. It's a good team. His team should be contending for that play-in spot, getting that last 2 seeds of the playoffs. Indiana Pacers, a team that was a darling of the playoffs last season, went on their Cinderella run as a 6th seed at the Eastern Conference Finals, but then everybody got hurt. Which, everybody Boston played in the East got hurt last year. I wonder if that, whatever. So they brought back Siakam, re-signed him, who they traded for midseason last year. He was a fantastic pickup. They brought in James Wiseman to be the team's backup center because they lost Jalen Smith to the Bulls. It's an interesting move. I still think James Wiseman has a little bit of potential, but it's going to be his last opportunity. He will be in a bench role for a playoff team. I still think Indiana will be at the same regular season they had last year. They're going to be fighting to not be in the play-in. But as I said, this is why the NBA is so great right now. There's teams like this that are just fighting to be in the playoffs, and this team could be a championship caliber team in Indiana. So I do think they get in maybe as like a 6 or 5 seed. But defense got to improve. LA Clippers, this is a mess. Listen, they have a fantastic, awesome new home arena, but they lost Paul George. They chose Paul over James Harden for some dumbass reason. Kawhi's always going to be hurt. He's already hurt, and God knows what. He'll probably miss the whole season because he never plays basketball. I'm looking at who they brought in. They lost PG, lost Daniel Tice, they lost Russ, who was actually a really solid player for them. Lost Plumlee. They brought in Mo Bamba. He's got the hose calling. They brought in Batum. Why is he in? One of my favorite lyrics of a song. Chris Dunn, I think it's a good pickup, but if you're having to rely on him and maybe being a starter, you have a bit of an issue. But yeah, the Clippers are going to be bad. At least I think. They have no depth on this team. James Harden is not a guy you can rely on because he's going to have to be the guy on the team alone because Kawhi is not going to play more than likely. So yeah, the Clippers going to be ass. And OKC has the Clippers pick. You have a scenario where OKC wins the championship and has number 1 or 2 pick. Insane front office moves by the Oklahoma City Thunder. Moving on to the Lakers. Bounced out in the first round last year by Denver. Bounced out of Denver by the last two years. They brought in J.J. Redick to be the coach of this team. I think that's an upgrade over Darvin Ham, but I don't know if J.J. Redick's going to be a good coach. He seemingly got hired because he's LeBron's friend. And they didn't bring in anything free agency-wise and trade-wise, which you hoped maybe they could have. But they got Dalton Connect, who I think will be a plug-and-play spot shooter. He gives off big Doug McDermott vibes. They can just come in and make some threes, and that's all you really need from him. And they also have in Bronny. It's going to be one of the biggest stories of the whole season is LeBron and his son playing together. It's an awesome moment. When they first, in the regular season, get on the floor together, it's going to be a awesome, awesome moment. But, yeah, that's probably going to be LeBron's last year. He seemingly forced his son to enter the drafts earlier than he should have. to have an opportunity to play alongside him, because that was LeBron's ultimate goal. So now that that's happened, it's seemingly that LeBron has nothing left to prove, nothing left to say. He's already the scoring champ all time. He's done everything else. He's a billionaire. And he seemingly, all reports want to say that he pretty much wants to go ahead and move on to a more business, to just exclusively focus on business in his life. But Lakers going to be about maybe 7 or 8 seed again, probably another first round out. But listen, until LeBron sucks, I'm always going to think if you have LeBron James on your team, you have a chance to win the title. And I think they do. I think just with LeBron on that team, they have a shot to win the championship. They had a really good run a couple years ago. They went to the Western Conference Finals. Maybe now with a better coach, they can improve on that. Not sure, but you have LeBron going the title. Memphis Grizzlies, last year was just a throwaway year with the Ja suspension. Everybody on the damn team got hurt, including Ja when he came back. It was just a mess of a year, just a throwaway year. But they brought back a lot of their players, at least their key players, because, Derrick Rose retired. He wasn't going to do much. Yuta Watanabe, who cares? They brought in Zach Edey, who a lot of people like. I'm not a fan of Zach Edey. But, hey, maybe he can fit this team, whatnot. Him alongside Jaren Jackson is going to be really interesting. Jackson can at least space the floor a little bit. But it's all going to come down to, can Ja stay healthy? I think Ja can single-handedly carry this team to the postseason. Maybe even as high as a 5 seed. And also if Gigi Jackson, former Gamecock, former Ridgeview High School, right down the road for me as well, if he can stay healthy, it's a good, legit team. Maybe if Zach Edey is what everybody else hypes him up to be and not what I hype him up to be, maybe he is legit. I don't know. But, yeah, this is a team that can go and maybe even win a playoff series if they can stay healthy. That's the issue. Can they stay healthy? Miami Heat seemingly seems like Jimmy Butler's is on his last run in Miami. It's going to be his last year in Miami, more than likely. They just keep slipping and slipping farther and farther down the standings and prominence in the Eastern Conference. And they could not stay healthy, Butler and Hero, last season. But, they have some new additions. They got some people in the draft who, with the damn Bulls, they always find, the damn Heat, they always find some random-ass role player to pick in the draft, and then turns out to be a great player. They got Alec Burks, who's probably going to be a key contributor for the Heat. But the thing is, the Heat are always going to make it to the playoffs, and if Jimmy stays healthy, we have seen the path. Jimmy Butler can single-handedly carry a team on his back to win in the playoffs. So if they can just make it there, they're just going to be mediocre regular season. But if they can stay healthy, make it to the playoffs, God knows. We've seen it before. And shout out to Bam Wilson. Just make it official already with Asia Wilson, Bam Adebayo. Please, just do it. You're killing us. Milwaukee Bucks. I like the Dame move when it happened, but now it seems like a rough move. This is not fitting as well as you thought it would be. The defense is terrible in Milwaukee. I feel like, any second the wheels are just going to fall off you with Dame. He had a huge injury issues last season, and especially in the playoffs. Both of these star players missed the playoffs. But, yeah, this seems like not the same Bucks team of a couple years ago. I think the issue in Milwaukee is they kept trying to put a star next to Giannis, and rather than just build the team around Giannis, which when they won the championship seemingly was what they did. They just suited to his needs and his fit. I don't think that's what they're doing right now, and I think it's going to cost them in the playoffs once again. But, hey, you have Giannis. Dame can maybe still turn it on in the postseason. If Milton can stay healthy maybe too. Obviously, still tend to go in the championship just because they have Giannis. Timberwolves made one of the most insane runs last season. Out of nowhere, won 56 wins. almost was in the NBA Finals with Anthony Edwards and his great team. And then, like, a couple weeks before the season starts, they trade Karl Anthony Towns for Julius Randle? Julius Randle for Cat? I mean, you got DiVincenzo back, too. That's a decent guy, but, like, that is just not a move you want to try and get. That is a weird fit. Randall's not a fantastic shooter like Cat was, and now you pair that next to Rudy Gobert, who I'm not a fan of Rudy Gobert at all, especially in a postseason capacity. I don't get it for Minnesota. They're still going to be a good regular season team. I think Rob Dillingham, number 8 overall, was a great ad to trade up to get him. But, yeah, it is weird. It is weird. I think there's going to be a good regular season team, maybe like a 4 seed, but, I mean, maybe Anthony Edwards can just drag this sorry-ass team to the second or third round again. But, yeah, obviously, you don't trust Julius Randle in playoff capacity either. New Orleans Pelicans, big thing, can Zion just stay healthy? When Zion's on the court and playing, the team is really good. He's really great. He seems like he lost a lot of pounds as well, but he just can't stay goddamn healthy. And you saw it. He had almost a 40-piece in the play-in, but then he got hurt, and they lost that play-in and ended up not making the playoffs. But they got DeJounte Murray in that trade with Atlanta. They didn't really give up much to get him. I think that's going to be a good fit next to C.J. McCollum. I know I said that about Trae Young, but I think this is a really good addition to the Pelicans. If Zion can stay healthy, maybe even just play 70 games, I think it's going to be a good team. All right, sorry, I had to let my dogs out because they were barking. There's a crane that always sits by our pond and just sits there, and the crane knows the dogs can't. I think they just learned they can't go down there to get them because they have their shot collars on. And if you hear them in the background, yeah, they're just steady barking at that crane. If that crane flew up at them or like even walked their way, they'd probably be scared shitless and run back toward the house. They don't want that smoke from that crane, simply put. So if you hear barking in the background, that's because these dogs, they think they're a little too big for the britches. You know what I mean? They have a lot of bark, not a lot of bite. They're very sheltered. Moving on New York Knicks. Speaking of barking and not a lot of biting, the city of New York and the New Yorkers, not as tough as you think. But it's a really tough team, really good team. This is built similarly to the Celtics, but they don't exactly have just a superstar. The New York Knicks have built the role player all-star team. Now, granted, I think Brunson's a really good player, but obviously he doesn't seem like a traditional guy where you can make him like the top guy on a championship team and he can carry you. This is the most 2004 Pistons since the 2004 Pistons. A team that's led by a guard who you don't really know if he's going to be necessarily a guy you can win championship with, but you just surround with such a good team, such a good coach, such a good organization. So far, been a pretty good organization that you can really make a run with this team. Mikal Bridges' jump shot looks utterly screwed. He looks like Michael Carter-Williams out there. Michael Kidd-Gilchrist. Not Carter-Williams, him too. But he's got a funky jump shot now, but hey, maybe it can work out by the time the season gets on. I think Karl Anthony Towns is a really good get. I love him next to Mitchell Robinson, if Robinson can stay healthy. But, yeah, this is a team that's probably going to be the 2 or 3 seed, especially for a regular season. A team that's built as deep as the Knicks is going to do fantastic in a regular season. Hell, they could maybe even be the 1st seed in the East because, they can rotate in guys enough, even though, Thibodeau's not known for his rotations. Maybe he can rotate a little bit to get everybody replaying and take the load off of his team as much as he can. Because this is a role player all-star team of role players. And, yeah, so the Knicks, I'm not picking them to win out of the East. I'm picking Boston, And I don't think New York can even win a championship. In my humble opinion, I do not think the Knicks can win a championship. But I do think this is a really damn good team and the best New York team in, 35, 40 years? Maybe? I don't know how long the 90s was ago. So you get another good team. A team that, honestly, I'm picking to win it all. Oklahoma City Thunder. I'm picking them to win it all over the Celtics. They were the first seed last year, the youngest first seed ever. They continued to improve this offseason. They got rid of Josh Giddey, Wanda Frank, whatever you want to call him. Straight up for Alex Caruso, a player that fits in so much better with what they're trying to go for. And does not have the same distractions, let's say, as Josh Giddey. Nikola Topic, I think he might be hurt. I think he knows Nikola. I don't know. But I think that's a good draft pick. This is just continuing to internally improve with Shea, Chet, and the rest of this young core with Lou Dort, guys like that. So yeah, this is a really, really good team. I think they're going to easily reach 60, maybe 65 wins this year. And I'm going on a limb, and I'm picking Shea Gilgeous-Alexander to win the MVP, in my opinion. That's who I'm picking to win MVP and the championship, Oklahoma City. Moving on to Orlando, a team that went out of nowhere last year, shocked the world, made the 5 seed, was a Game 7 away from going to the second round of the Eastern Conference, played a fantastic series with the Cleveland Cavaliers, two teams that had two opposite play styles. Or not, they're both defensive play styles, even though one team doesn't have a point guard that can guard in the Cavs. But yeah, it's a great team. Great addition in KCP this offseason. They only lost Joe Ingles, which isn't much of a loss. They didn't bring back Markelle Fultz, but I'm not sure if that's that big of a loss. Now that you brought in Corey Joseph and KCP, two veteran shooters, or pickups, that can improve the offense of this team. That's the issue with this team. They need to improve their offense. But I think Paolo Banchero take another step. Jalen Suggs maybe get that jump shot better. And a couple other players around this team like Wagner, guys like that can really improve the shooting of this team. Because if they can do that, man, it's going to be a really scary team out there in Orlando. And I don't think this team can make it even maybe the Eastern Conference Finals, honestly, in my humble opinion. But this team that can get a first-round upset, maybe even go to the second round. You go to the second round. But I don't think they're going to get the 5 seed again this year. I think they get 6 or 7. They get that play-in spot. But yeah, they get that. Yeah, just also a reminder that Jonathan Isaac, nobody showed up when he did his first time ever preaching. Just to let y'all know that did happen. Yeah, moving on, Philadelphia. So you need to get more depth because that was a huge-ass issue. You need to get more depth because Embiid's always hurt. So what do? You get another guy who's always hurt, and Paul George, and always disappoints in the playoffs when you need him the most. Yeah, this should work out. Great. I guess you bring in Andre Drummond, who could start. You bring him back to Philly, can start a couple good games when Embiid's hurt. I think he's going to be the starting center now because Embiid's going to miss at minimum the first week. They announced that earlier as I was recording, but yeah, they got Drummond, who's old as hell. They got Paul George, old and injury prone, always going to disappoint. Eric Gordon, I think, is way beyond his year. That was not a good signing. Reggie Jackson, maybe a decent signing. Caleb Martin's okay guy. You didn't really lose anything of note besides maybe like Cam Payne and Buddy Hield. But yeah, Philly, this is going to be probably another injury-riddled year for Embiid. I think the thing is, I think Philly's going to intentionally just sleepwalk through the regular season to avoid any injuries and then turn it on the playoffs. Kind of like with the Nuggets on the other side of the bracket or on the West, but I just don't buy it. Maybe that's because I just don't think Paul George is ever going to show up when it matters most. And that's what they need in Philly. Moving on, the Phoenix Suns, probably the worst situation at anybody in the league. You don't have your first round pick, your own pick, till 2031. You're stuck with these 3 huge-ass contracts you can't get rid of, especially the contract that's hurting you the most, which is Bradley Beal. He has not only that, he has a no trade clause, so he's just going to decline being shipped out to some bum-ass team if they want him. They can't sign anybody because you don't have any money. So you're just stuck with these 3 guys. 2 of them are old. And one of them's beyond his years in Bradley Beal. And you're just stuck with this. And they don't fit good together either in these 3 because they all need the ball to be successful. Kevin Durant has been the best when he doesn't have the ball out of the 3 because he can at least do really good on defense. He's turned into a good defender later in his career, but yeah, this is a rough situation for things. And I knew from the get-go when they made this trade for Beal, this was not going to work out. And I was right. This has not worked out at all. And it doesn't seem like it will ever work out. And now Phoenix is screwed for the next decade. Portland Trailblazers. Well, they suck. Simple as that. Yeah, they suck. Now, it's fine, though. They have a young team, and this is honestly what the Trailblazers need. If you don't know in sports, sometimes you have to suck to get good. It's what they're going to be this year. They're just going to keep improving internally with the guys they have. I think Donovan Clingan was a really good draft pick. I like him fitting in with this team. I imagine they're probably going to get rid of either Robert Williams or Robert Williams or DeAndre Ayton at some point, probably mid-season. But yeah, that's why I think we'd cling in. He would do better second half of the season. But yeah, this is it's good that they finally got rid of Dame, but man, yeah, Dame was your one guy that you had that wanted to stick loyal to this franchise, but you really couldn't move forward as a franchise with Dame, and they made that hard move to do it. And it seemingly looks like it's going to be a long rebuild. You're not going to get any free agents to come to Portland, tell you that much. You know what I mean? So they're going to have to do smart drafting, which I think they've done so far. It was getting Scoot and getting Clingan. They just got Avadija, the guy from the country that shall not be named. Free Palestine, I guess. Lost Brogdon, but whatever. I think that's fine. Yeah, they're probably going to be like 20, 22 wins this year. Compete for like the 3rd overall pick. It's about what you need. It's about what Portland should go. It's good. It's good that they're finally doing what we all wanted them to do forever. Sacramento Kings. It's good the Kings are finally getting good. It's just the West are so stacked. People did not like the DeMar DeRozan move, but I loved the DeMar DeRozan move. I thought this was a really good move for them. I think he adds another level to this team that they need. He's just a really good player still. Granted, he doesn't take threes, but it's fine. I think it's just another good asset to have. Get Jalen McDaniels. You bring back Malik Monk and Alex Len, who were solid players. Malik Monk is a really good 6-man and occasional spot starter. De'Aaron Fox and Domantas Sabonis, I think, continue with how good they are as a duo. They are a fantastic duo together, those 2 guards. But you hope Kevin Huerter can come back and improve after he had his shoulder surgery. He was really good. He's a really good 3-point shooter, 3-and-D type guy for them. But they're going to just be kind of in that low tier of the playoffs. They're going to be scratching and clawing their way to get that get that last spot, that play-in spot, 7 or 8 seed. That's what they're going to be clawing and scratching their way to. They're probably going to finish regular season like 8 seed, and they're just going to have to play their hearts out when it comes into the play-in games. This is what I hope. This is what I think they will do out there in Sacramento. It's good to see the Kings finally be a relevant team. You know what I mean? It's a good feel good. That fan base has earned it. San Antonio Spurs. Now, Victor Wembanyama has been sensational. You know he's a generational type guy. I like the move for Chris Paul to give him a veteran type guard to play with. Now I don't think San Antonio will be in a play-in team this year. I still don't. I still don't think that they have that big of a turnaround compared to last year. But I like the Castle pick. I like Chris Paul a lot. I think Harrison Barnes is still a pretty solid role guy. But yeah, I just still think maybe this team could kind of like do what the Rockets did last year, have like that late push towards the playoffs. They're having a really bad start, get like the 11 seed and just miss out. I think that's what San Antonio probably should do. Maybe get like 38, 39 wins on the season. That'd be a really, really good, solid improvement for San Antonio. Hopefully they just keep giving Remy the ball, which they struggled with last year. Just give him the damn ball. He's 7'4" and he shoots like Steph Curry, man. Like, what? How hard is it to do? Just run the offense through that guy. Toronto Raptors. I've only ever been to 2 NBA games. A couple years ago, I went to a Hawks-Hornets game, which the Hawks won that night. And when I went to Washington, D.C. last year, like right after Christmas, first time I've ever been on an airplane, we just so happened to go to a Wizards-Raptor game. We showed up at halftime of the game because we didn't even know it was happening. We just saw on the TV, like, oh, yeah, it's right down the street. Let's go walk over the game. One of the worst displays of sports I've ever seen between those two teams, Raptors and Wizards. And, yeah, the Raptors, I don't know what they're doing. But I think they're still going to be, like, they're maybe going to compete for a play-in spot. This just seems like just a whatever team. They're just going with it. They're just there. Right? Like this is a far cry from when they were a consistent playoff team and even won a championship. They just exist at the moment in the NBA. And that's honestly, I think, the worst situation you can be in as a sports team if you're just there. And you're not like going anywhere. You're just a team. Speaking of that honestly, the exact same situation as the Raptors is the Utah Jazz. They're in that exact same boat. They're just there. They just happen to exist. Had that key loss of Chris Dunn in the offseason. Everybody thought that Lauri Markkanen was going to get traded, and I still think he will get traded at some point this season. I don't know why they didn't do it already, because they're not going anywhere in the West. They're not getting close to the play-in this season. They're not, with him and Jordan Clarkson, they're not competing at all in Utah. So I don't know why they just don't blow it up and then just go as hard as you can for like Cooper Flagg, who seems like a really good prospect in this draft class. And yeah, and of course they lost Chris Dunn in the offseason, really good guard. Try to replace him with Taylor Horton Tucker. Sure, that was going to work. I don't even think he's on a team at the moment. But yeah, Utah gives off big, like, 31 wins, 32 wins. That seems like what they're going to do. I just don't buy Utah at all at the moment. And I don't know what they're doing as an organization. At least they changed their ugly-ass uniforms. I think they changed them back. Those other ones they had were utterly disgusting. What were they doing? But yeah, I mean, honestly, though, it's what Utah deserves. Just a reminder, they have a statue of Karl Malone outside of their home arena. Just to let y'all know. Washington Wizards, this team sucks. Oh my God. They were really bad last year. One of the worst things I've ever seen. And I saw that in person. They got worse. Alex Sarr, this guy refused to play for the Hawks. He refused. He was a big man who has now refused to play with Trae Young, who is historically great at making whatever subpar big man seem like better than what they are. He refused to play with that because he wants to play for the Wizards and just be the star player, I guess, on a shit team that's going to win like probably 14 games again this season. They're going to be terrible. Just plain and simple, this is not a good team. They got, I don't know how much Malcolm Brogdon's going to probably play. He's an asset to get so you can trade him away again. You lost Tyus Jones, who was the only sense of stability in the backcourt. So now you just have a bunch of young guys in the backcourt and Jordan Poole, who's going to be the main guy. And Jordan Poole, not good. He is historically bad. He's just not a good player, really. And, yeah, the Wizards. Congrats, Alex Sarr. You refused to play with Trae Young, who was going to make you look fantastic, better than what you are, so you can be dog shit. Congrats, dude. And I believe that's all I had for today's podcast. I'm going to look back at bullet points of what I want to say. Oh, speaking of really bad, last point I want to get to. In my closet sits a Clemson Deshaun Watson jersey and a Houston Texans Deshaun Watson jersey that I bought during his rookie year. He was my first favorite football player because when he came up for Clemson, he was, when I first really started getting into sports, he was this new guy playing for Clemson, gave the fan base hope, star quarterback. He led us to the promised land for the first time in my lifetime that I ever saw one of my teams win it, or even make it that far, period. We went to the playoffs, won our first championship in almost 40 years. And it seems like, man, this is a guy, he seemed humble, he seemed like a great teammate, great person, goes to Houston. They have a great, he does fantastic there. He has a great run. And then in 2020, they traded DeAndre Hopkins, one of the most baffling moves ever for the Texans. It was just a power play by Bill O'Brien, at coaching GM at the time. The Texans have a terrible 2020 season where Deshaun has a fantastic year in his own right, but the Texans team is bad. Deshaun demands a trade. It seems like he wants out of Houston. And then out of nowhere, an allegation comes out about him sexually harassing a masseuse. And this is for people who don't know the situation about Deshaun. I know some people who don't watch sports listen to this podcast for some reason. He has almost 30 harassment claims and lawsuits. Some of those are still ongoing. He misses all the 2021 season because of these issues. He gets traded in 2022 to the Cleveland Browns for multiple draft picks, but including 3 first-round picks. And then he's given over $200 million contract. Let me see. Deshaun Watson contract 2022. $200 million fully guaranteed with a trade exception to where, he essentially runs the team now. Yeah, he was given a 5-year, $230 fully guaranteed contract, meaning they can't cut him. If they cut him, they have to pay him the full amount. They can't buy him out. And they have no exceptions to the trade. Even if he goes to jail, that was put in you wonder why that was put in the damn contract, that he can't, if he goes to jail, he can't be released without penalty. It's almost like he had, issues. So he has this crazy fall from grace. He gets suspended for a majority of the 2022 season. So he finally comes back 2023, is really bad, hurt again. And they do better without him. They went to the playoffs. They were a great team last season with Joe Flacco. They picked up quite literally off the street to be their quarterback. and do great without him. And now they come into this year with Deshaun. Ball report seems terrible play. He comes out 1-5 start for the Browns. Deshaun Watson does quite literally historically bad. He does historically bad for the Cleveland Browns. And that was against the worst pass defenses in the league those first couple games. And so, yeah, he has this huge contract. They can't get rid of him with all these allegations. And not only that, he's the worst quarterback in the league. He's the worst player in the league. He's single-handedly holding this team back. And then he gets hurt. He tears his Achilles this Sunday. Going to miss the rest of the season. Might miss even some of next season. And the Browns, when they got Deshaun Watson, they had a down year after Baker Mayfield had an injury to his throwing shoulder. Baker Mayfield was a guy who led this team from a winless team to a Super Bowl contending team. He had one injury-riddled year because he tried to play through a shoulder issue. The Browns dumped him off to sign the largest contract ever to a guy with 30 sexual harassment claims who hadn't played in like almost 2 years, and he sucks. And Baker is currently really good for Tampa right now. Cleveland single-handedly finally got good for the first time in 30 years, 40 years. And then they threw it all away so they can get a guy, make a deal with the devil. They made a deal with this guy who is, for damn sure not going to heaven, I'll tell you that much. And that's just what they do. That's what Cleveland sports does. They threw it all away for a guy with all of these issues. You're going to have all that locker room drama. And not only that, you can't even justify it because he's not even good on the field. At least with other players, who has similar issues, let's just put it lightly, as Deshaun, they at least made up for it by their performance. I know you can't ever make it up, but they at least can put on a good performance where you can at least look away from it. You can't even look away from it now because he's just bad on the field. And with that all being said, thank you for listening to another episode of the podcast. I am sorry. I am so incredibly tired. I said I only had very, very little sleep the last couple of days. Trying to fix whatever. I should do more of a college football type episode tomorrow. And I'll also on YouTube, I'll be kind of re-uploading some of my clips maybe at some point. I'll have to try and get that whenever I can. So, yeah, it's been hectic. It's been hectic, to say the least. But, we're going to get through. We're going to get through, I guess. So, yeah, it mainly just because I had to reshoot that game, re-air the game, which is kind of weird. Yeah, I have to do that. And I want to take this time also to say, hey, if you're near the Charlotte area, pop out to Lenny Boy's Brewing on Friday, October the 25th. Having an XWW show there. It's a really good one. So, be there for that. That being said, thank you and goodbye.